about Long Island. So that's my specialty.
$50 million assets in Brooklyn.
Talk to a local lender, talk to a local attorney, talk to all your team, have them in place.
It should feel like there's a team that's there for you.
You have to know the numbers.
It's how I ride, black flag on the left, 2 hoes and ride, you better move. Hey, Cam,
So Jeff Van Note.
Greg Morga.
Good morning, Jermaine Pugh with B6 Real Estate Advisors. I specialize in the sale of investment sales, middle market, $5 to $50 million assets in Brooklyn. Excited to be here today.
Now I'm going to go on mute. Cherry.
I'm Sherry Geck. I'm from Cardinal Financial. I'm starting to kind of learn a lot from Jeff, but I'm new, but I can understand a lot of customer service and friendliness standpoint of everything.
I'm Joe Rodriguez from Staten Island, New York. Residential sales, kind of dabbling in commercial.
I'm Mary Lise Rodriguez. I'm with Christie's International Real Estate of Northern New Jersey. I only do residential, mostly in Bergen County.
Still on my computer. Okay. Good morning. I'm Mark Lawrence from Worldwide Land Transfer, real estate title insurance, many years experience, commercial, residential, New York and around the country.
We'll hit with the intro. All right. I'm Jeff.
I'm Red.
And we're the Bonks. He made us. Oh my God. He made us do that. He made us do that. All right. He made us do that.
We did not plan that.
He made us do that. So we're having a little fun with it. But yeah, we're Jeff and Red. We're from Hoboken. We have a small little team, 10 agents in Hoboken. We do all Hudson County, starting to help some of our clients make their way to their burbs as well. We're the HBB group with eXp Realty, and we're just excited to be here to talk about real estate with some awesome people in the industry.
All right, I'm Anthony Pizzello, Next Home Realty owner, realtor sales associate, a couple offices located in Monmouth County, New Jersey. We're looking to expand. We cover all your real estate needs in New Jersey. Consider ourselves your resource for all things real estate.
Hi, how are you? I'm Christina Pensa with Keller Williams, New York City, and I'm somewhat of a hybrid agent. I work on condo sales in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and also on luxury lease-up new development in Manhattan.
Anthony Zani with Keller Williams. I'm an owner, partner, and a real estate agent. Very excited to be here.
Now we're going to hop back over to Greg Morga, who we missed earlier.
We're going to try this again. My name is Greg Morga. I work producing branch manager for Ocean and Monmouth County for Cardinal Financial. Been doing it for the last 3 years, and just excited to be here and learn from others with this mastermind since it's been so long since we've been together.
All right, so the first question we're going to start with today is going to be, how do we level the playing field for buyers submitting offers in today's market? Who's going to start? Don't all speak at once.
All right, I'll go first because we always have this weird, awkward silence, right? With rooms like this. So someone needs to do it.
That's a Jeff to Jeff connection.
Yeah, it's a Jeff to Jeff connection. I have no idea what I'm going to say and answer, but I figured someone needs to break the silence. The biggest thing that we all tell the biggest thing we tell all of our buyers is to be prepared first and foremost. Don't come to the market seeing something on Zillow, go see it without doing any homework. Talk to a local agent, talk to a local lender, talk to a local attorney, talk to all your team, have them in place before you get into the marketplace. If not, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You're coming there, the seller's going to tell you're unprepared. They're going to tell that you're not ready to take this seriously and go forward. So make sure you have all those ducks in a row. Second thing you do is be as strong as possible with your offers today, right? You need to be
It's always something.
all right.
That was so good, they alerted everybody.
Woo! All right. Not a little weird at all.
So what would you consider, how do you make yourself as strong as possible? Why don't you highlight that?
Right. So be as strong financially as you can as possible, right? Have your best down payment, have your best price. That's going to be first and foremost, right? Like everything after that's ancillary. So make sure you know what's going to be competitive in the market. We have buyers that come in thinking, well, it's Hoboken, so we can lowball because it's not Manhattan, right? And it's like, no, you didn't learn the market first. It's 5 offers here too, right? So make sure you understand the market. Secondly, make sure you have a good local lender, somebody who's reputable in the market. People that when you're making offers, listing agents see that name, they go, I know this guy gets to the closing table. This has been Jeff for us for years, right? We make an offer with Jeff. They know the name. They know that right now it's Cardinal Financial and the team here that's in place that's reputable. Have the right attorney in place. Tell them who your attorney is. Send the first rider along with your offer and saying, if you accept this, we can start attorney review right away, right? This is New York. That might be foreign to New York, but my Jersey people over here understand what attorney review, right? That's where different markets, that's the way we operate. So have it so easy for the seller to accept that maybe if there's someone else $5,000 more than you, 10 grand more than you, but they're all over the place, have a bank that is not.
Quicken Loans.
All right, you said it. Quicken Loans, a Rocket Mortgage, right? I'm gonna say, you know what, Mr. Seller, look at this one. Like, yeah, it's $5,000 less, but they have a local lender. They have their attorney in place already. They know what their realtor is reputable. I know he's going to get to the closing table. Might be worth letting that $5,000 go and moving forward with this person that we know is going to close. And we're not turning around in 60 days saying, up, starting over. And where's the market then? Where's interest rates then? Where's the bids then? You're a stale listing at that point. So if you can play off those fears of the seller and present yourself in a way that's going to take away those fears, you can give yourself more strength outside of just the financial pieces.
I can tag on to that. I think, also being prepared too really relies on the people that they're working with too. You want to set the right expectations with the buyers. You have to let them know what kind of market we're in right now. Real estate right now is more of a commodity than a bargain market like we had a couple of years ago. They have to understand that there's way more buyers right now than inventory, and it's going to be like that for a long time for multiple reasons. So you have to set the expectations with the buyer. It's not just about, from a lender's side, finding out if they're pre-approved and for what. It's finding out what they want to spend and how much they want to spend monthly, and getting them into the correct budget with their price range and their budget, so that they're looking at the right homes. Because if they're looking for a $450,000 house right now because of this market, they're probably going to have to go to $500,000. Do they have the money to do that? Do they have the overage that they can, enough assets to cover if there's an appraisal shortage?
Do they want their payment that high?
Do they want their payment that high? Do they feel comfortable doing that? Because they're more than likely going to have to go higher than what's in their head right now. Buyers aren't informed with the market like we are. They rely on us to do that from a lending standpoint and a real estate standpoint. We have to inform them right now that they have to be a little bit more comfortable with their price range, but they also have to be a little bit more lenient with their expectations, or they're going to be out there too long. They're going to get frustrated and they're going to have their hearts broken.
Now that's on the residential primary residence side. We're going to shift now to the commercial investment side. So Sherry, if you could turn your computer to Jermaine, this is more geared towards Jermaine, who specializes in investment sales. So if you can touch on, obviously everyone wants investment real estate. Most people want investment real estate inside of New York City, the 5 boroughs, right? What are you seeing right now on the office side? How can people have a fair chance of competing with a financing offer opposed to an all cash offer? What are you seeing right now?
Well, it's a lot to unpack there. Just to start, we're seeing a much different market than you're going to see with the residential market. From an investment standpoint, kind of the main factors that drive a market is going to be cash flow for properties. And throughout the pandemic, that cash flow isn't there. There are a lot of vacancies in retail. Office, we're trying to figure out how office can be used now going forward. And also for multifamily, you had a lot of people that were renting high-end apartments in either the city or Brooklyn and went back and lived with their families. The good news is that 20 to 30% vacancy, that's gone now. So finally, landlords are getting some relief and they're getting their cash flow back. And you're starting to see buyers get more confidence in the New York real estate market and starting to shift back and definitely more offers. If you look at kind of the last 10-year trend, back in 14, 15, and 16, on average, about 3,000 trades a year throughout the boroughs. During the pandemic, we were down to 1,300. Last year, we were at 1,700. So we're trending in the right direction, but we're only at half of our normal velocity. So to answer your question, kind of a long-winded way, the buyers that are coming back into the market, it is a buyer's market when it comes to the commercial side. There's not as many offers because you're still trying to get people to believe in the fundamentals that was made New York and Brooklyn great. So you're seeing a lot of, especially multifamily buyers that left the market in 2019 because of the rent laws. They went to less regulated red states like Texas, Florida, Atlanta. They're buying cap rates at 3.5% to 4% there now. I just sold a six family at a 6.5 cap in Brooklyn. They're realizing now because the competition out of state, they're coming back into the New York market. So we're going to start to see more activity. And one more thing, how we kind of gauge the level of activity is I do a lot of valuations for property owners all throughout the boroughs. And on average, you do about probably 2 valuations a week. So about 8 a month. We did 25 last month with my team. So that's how the market started to pick up.
For those of you, two things that concern me. One, why are our alerts all going off at different times? I feel like somebody has like an inside plug. Like my phone doesn't. I don't even know what's going on. Don't care about number one. Number two, yeah, I'll find out tomorrow when they find the kid. Number two, Jermaine and I went to the same high school. I never knew who he was. Actually, he was a legend at the high school I went to. And then I went to playing flag football one day. I'm like, that's not Jermaine Pugh. Like he's like a little guy. He's like out of shape. And then he shook me and broke my ankles, and then I respected him ever since. So don't be fooled by the suit and tie. He's actually a nasty athlete. And thank you for sharing that. So I want to actually go back and touch on that real quick. So I had a client recently, 3 days ago, supposed to close, time is of the essence, New Jersey deal, and it was a seller, it was a friend that's selling a property. They were in contract for 450. They called up and said, oh, interest rates went up too high. I only want to pay 425 right now, right? And they had an all cash offer. The seller, who was my friend, was like, we're not dropping the price. And by the way, you're buying it all cash. So what do interest rates have to do with you? You're buying this all cash. Oh, I changed my mind, this and that. So I would love for everybody to touch on submitting an all cash offer, but also obtaining financing. And also if you've seen anything like that, where buyers are now trying to renegotiate sale prices because interest rates are up. And I'll open the floor.
And it's kind of,
He doesn't like being on camera or anything.
And in the commercial world, like when you're an all cash offer, it's not really all cash. Yes, there's no mortgage contingency. If you get to the point where you have to close a deal, you have to close it all cash. But most of our buyers do actually get some type of traditional financing. So they like to get a 60 to 90-day window to close, but it's not contingent to that. And right now with, and I'll let you guys speak to it more on the lending side, feds have raised the rate, interest rates have gone up from traditionally, you can get about 3.5% for a multifamily loan, we're up to almost 4.5%. Could be people saying up to 5% now with Fannie and Freddie. So you have a lot of buyers out there looking to potentially retrade their numbers now. Not saying they have yet, but they're really looking closely because it only makes sense that as interest rates go up, cap rates must raise and prices must drop.
How do you see that impacting the market moving forward, right? And also a double question too. You're a smart guy, right? You're a Lehigh guy, right? So you can know this, you know numbers, right? And engineering. Engineer this for me.
Yeah.
What happens to the people that have a $5 million loan right now at 3.5%, and then let's say their loan becomes due? How does that impact the market? Is the bank going to do a workout, or what do you see happening with people that have debt at low rates and now their cash flow doesn't support the new loan?
I think they have kind of two options. I mean, either they have to restructure with the bank and bring more capital to the deal. They're not going to be able to exit the deal like they wanted to. And that happened a lot with multifamily because when the laws changed, they can no longer do tenant improvements and actually raise the rents. So the values dropped about 30%. So you have a lot of owners that when they went for their 5 or 7 year refi, that delta wasn't there anymore. So they had to either sell the asset or come to the asset or come to the bank with more cash. So we are seeing that a lot. So they have to restructure at this point or sell it, which is kind of a good thing for our business. We help them with both. So
Anthony, what are you seeing down in the Jersey Shore these days? Obviously, it's a hot market. A lot of people up north are moving down there as a primary residence. A lot of people are moving down there and purchasing investment properties, second homes. For those of you that ever saw the show, The Jersey Shore, Anthony, as good looking as he is, he did not star on it, but he's actually an industry expert, believe it or not. So Anthony, touch on that a little bit.
All right. So what I'm it's been like this for a while. It's just when we get closer to some of the shore towns that are getting more demand outside of Monmouth County, which typically had most people from the north coming, values are increasing significantly, and naturally the offers are getting a lot more aggressive with what's going on. And like kind of touch off what you just spoke with, like cash transactions and financing, what I'm starting to see is a lot of people, to make your offer stronger, are coming in with cash, but they're also going to try to finance at the same time. And I can see how interest rates now are definitely pulling a lot on how people are thinking about offering, because I think they're more focused on the future of that, not we're at the top of the market, but something's about to change. So I'm seeing a lot more people now getting more conservative, but because the Jersey Shore areas, most towns just we're a lot more affordable than even for commuters that aren't in the city every day. They're starting to get their primary residence down by us. So I mean, the growth in value, the growth in demand is significant. I think it's going to stay like that, just because it makes everything a lot more affordable where we are right
But Anthony,
now.
you were a commuter today, right?
Oh yeah.
What'd you think of the commute up here?
It's fantastic. Loved it. Could be at the beach in 7 minutes, but
Well, it's because you and Greg sat in the back and held hands together. What if Greg wasn't with you?
I sat in the front and helped.
Oh, all right, gotcha. It was one of those.
Yeah,
So-
but you know what? So for instance, I'd say the past 15 homes I listed in like Brick and Point Pleasant, majority of the people were from North Jersey, even New York, because now, hey, we're commuting 2 to 3 days a week. That's not a big deal. I mean, we still have train stations down there. They'll drive up to like Red Bank and jump on the train there. It's shorter and save time. So, and still have the Jersey Shore experience.
I've had a lot of people tell me, hey, we're okay with commuting within an hour and a half because we only have to be in the office 2 or 3 days a week, right? So if you figure out where all the jobs are physically located, if you draw a circle, I think it's called a circumference around that area, right? That was a long time. I definitely didn't pay attention in that class, but I remember the word. I think it sounds good, right? So, or a diagram, but where New York City is, draw a circle around that and go out 90 minutes. That's probably going to be where you have to imagine real estate continues to rise, right? So people always say, oh, well, we're going to hit a recession, prices are going to drop. I don't see that for this area because even as the other country, part of the countries fail and they'll have jobs and like they get crushed by inflation, like the cream of the crop rises, and you have to think that they're going to probably wind up in the big major cities, specifically New York City. So Jeff, what are you saying? And Joe, if you want to touch on that. By the way, Joe, I gotta say this. Everyone knows about Goodfellas and all of this stuff. I kind of feel like this is like a 5-family meeting here, like a nice little sit down.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the prosciutto to come out.
No, did you order it? Or no?
Bringing it. I gave it a
Listen,
signal.
I don't know if Goldman knows about that. They might bring out some like prime rib or something. I don't know. Go ahead, Joe. Touch on that.
Back to your question, the original. I don't think rates are high enough to where we need to not leverage cash. I have an investor that we work with. We flip houses. Our offers are cash, but on the contract, it's going to state we're going to get financing. It doesn't make sense to tie up that much money for a 5%, 5.5%, 6% interest rate. The leverage is still there, so this doesn't make sense to tie up that capital. If I can move on to 3-4 projects with that same capital amount.
So Anthony and Christina, I'm gonna let you guys tag team this since you're both with KW. Obviously, you guys handle a little bit different demographic and market, but go ahead and touch on what you guys are seeing in the market and what you guys both specialize in, and also your guys' strategy for either getting an apartment rented or a buyer in a home, or how you're even pricing properties right now. Do you want to take this?
Yeah, so just as far as buyer behavior is concerned, I don't
Buyer
think
behavior, I like
yeah,
that.
or buyer confidence. I don't think I think what's working for us, especially in Manhattan and prime areas of Brooklyn, is that the rental market is so tight. There's virtually no inventory. So first time buyers that were a little bit, trying to get over the hump, now they're really pushed towards it, seeing their renewal rates after getting such a good deal during COVID. So I still feel we have a ton of buyers, not enough inventory, people very motivated to buy. So I don't think that the rates have dissuaded anybody, at least the people I've been working with and the way I've been educating them. And then also there is always that fear of rates rising higher. So people want to get ahead of the curve and buy, lock in a rate before they go up even further. So that's just been my personal experience working with renters and converting them to buyers. There's still so much more. It's so much more equitable to own than to rent. And Manhattan's so full of renters. So you just always have to convince people why they should be building equity in the city.
It's a little different for Long Island. You have a lot of different sections of Long Island. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with it, but
Us Jersey people don't go to Long Island. We pretend there's a wall outside of New York City. So
just
to answer your question, probably
Just
two
stops right
people
there.
maybe been there. And that wasn't by choice. That was by
Come on, Jeff. I mean, it's similar in that there's a ton of buyers and not a lot of inventory. I mean, we're looking at probably 15,000 homes in inventory and literally 1 million buyers. So you have people chomping at the bits to get into a home right now. It's almost impossible. People are going well above their means into trying to get into a home, and they have no choice, right? So they're doing things like waiving the appraisal contingency, waiving inspection, everything that Jeff and Greg were saying before was 100% accurate with the lenders, the great attorneys, have the attorneys reach out. It's a war zone. It really is. And the interest rates aren't really going to affect anything right now because the supply and demand is insane. So really, honestly, it can go to 8%. People are still going to buy the home.
They have to.
Absolutely. And the home values, they're not changing this year. Honestly, it's going to go up about 10% for this year.
At least.
Guaranteed. So it's buckle up. It's going to be fun.
I know Greg wants to say something.
Yeah, I want to touch on that too. I would say, coming from a lending standpoint, Fannie and Freddie Mac, they came out with a report that they do believe that this is going to be the highest purchase market in at least the last decade. So people are clearly still buying, whether the interest rates are higher. I think values are going to continue to go up because simple supply and demand. I do believe that the powers that be, though, are trying to promote more primary occupancy with what they're doing with federal interest rates and interest rates. With the LLPAs that just came out recently, April 1st, that was really to stop second home purchases because a lot of investors were using second home purchases to buy Airbnbs. That took away a lot of inventory. With the cap rates going, I'm not as familiar as that with you, but I would suggest that probably with the inventory rising, the purchase of the homes with the rising rates, it's probably harder for an investor to have like a profit with renting out a house with 20-25% down right now, right? With the rising rates, with the amount of points that they have to pay. So I think that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for first-time home buyers. I think there's two things that need to happen. I think number one, clearly we need more inventory. But I think number two, we really need to start educating the market, agents, on the benefit of government loans for first-time home buyers such as FHA.
You bring up a great point. We'll kind of share this. I kind of feel like Anthony in the back seat right now. Just don't hold my hand. So that's an excellent point you bring up. So how do lenders, right, re-educate, for those who know the term dinosaur, how do lenders educate the dinosaurs from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, and then their understudies who are like baby T-Rexes, right, where they refuse to accept an FHA pre-approval, an FHA offer, or client that chooses to take on FHA or VA financing? What are the best ways lenders can help educate both sellers and listing agents that a pre-approval, regardless of the loan type, is just as valid as any other pre-approval?
Make it simple. I think they need to work harder, and they haven't had to the last couple of years because of the lower interest rates, because of how easy it was to get a refinance. I tell this everyone, 12 months ago, I could walk down the street, knock on 3 doors, and probably 2 of them would do a refinance with me because everyone was benefiting from it. So it's been easy for the last couple of years. It's not easy anymore. So education is number one. I think lunch and learns with realtors and listers, and maybe even first-time home buyer seminars. I think we need to go back to the basics now that we're able to meet like we are right now without masks on and having to do Zoom and worry about social distancing.
We're on Zoom
as much, but we're in person. We're using, I really think though that a lot of people worry about appraisal shortages. There's a lot of misinformation out there about how lenient FHA can actually be with an appraisal shortage. If the buyer has the money for the shortage, it really doesn't matter what kind of loan they're doing. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of first-time home buyers right now that only have enough for 5% down conventional financing. Fannie and Freddie are tightening up significantly on the pricing and the leniency of who is approved for loans with 5% down. We have to remember that Fannie and Freddie Mac is not like a pass or fail like FHA. You could have somebody with a high credit score, low debt to income ratio, enough funds for 5% down, and you get a refer ineligible.
They might just not like it
because they don't like the credit report. Maybe they don't like the lack of history, the lack of rental history. FHA is not like that. So you're taking away a lot of buyers that would be able to afford more.
Right. And from the lending side, we know that we have more control over an FHA loan and helping somebody get approved,
100%.
whereas conventional is fully automated. The computer either likes you or doesn't like you.
You have buyers too that, maybe 6 months ago, they could have bought a $450,000 home. Now they can't get approved conventional for a $350,000 home. But FHA gives them way more leniency and also lets them put down less, but if they want to put down more, they can. There's a lot at the end of the tunnel. They can always refinance into a conventional loan to remove that mortgage insurance when the time comes, when the rate drops, or when they have better credit, or whenever the case may be. VA too, there's a lot of veterans out there. VA is a very, very, very good loan. And I think there is tons and tons of disservices to our vets, trying to sway people away from VA loans. I know we all have a job to sell homes and make sure that the sell goes through. That's your fiduciary responsibility. But a VA loan is not the enemy. I think once we start bringing these government loans back and start having an open mind on selling those, I think that's going to promote more primary occupancy. And I think that's really going to be the way that we get back to more stability in the market.
Can I jump in there?
Jeff, all you.
So we're in Hoboken, Hudson County, right? We're 95% condos, and there's like a handful that are FHA or VA approved ahead of time that we know of. But there's also the spot stuff, but it become like some lenders can do it, some lenders can't do it. So how do you overcome the challenges in the condo market with FHA and VA? I mean, we do 4 transactions a year, 1 or 2 have been FHA or VA.
Condos are definitely tougher, but there have actually been scenarios. I actually just did one 2 months ago where it was not approved by Fannie and Freddie, but they actually had a FHA approved condo. So just because it's not FHA approved on the condo list, a lender still has the opportunity to do a single unit approval, or the lender itself uses it. But you have to see what kind of the ownership is. I don't remember the acronyms off the top of my head, but there's 2 different kinds of approval lists for FHA. There's one where the lender gets to decide, and there's one where FHA directly decides. The one where the lender decides is a little bit more, it's more of a rarity. But if you work with a direct FHA lender, such as Cardinal, right, we have a little bit more leniency to get that approved. VA is a little bit more tougher with condos. I would say, what I'm saying for VA would probably be more relatable to single family homes, especially because there's a lot of condos where you can't even get the condo approved without 10% down. It's called the limited review with conventional. But just in the general, so I mean, it would probably be a little bit tougher for your market, but there are opportunities out there. It just depends on if the lender knows, because a lot of people don't. Number 2, wants to do the work.
So just to like work through the steps, right? We have a buyer doesn't have more than 3 or 4% down, but strong credit or whatever else situation might make sense for FHA loan. They want to live in a condo. Bring them to you to then start looking at which buildings they should be focused on.
Yeah, we have lists. We have lists through VA loans, and the VA list and FHA list. We can see which condos are approved. We could find out which ones are. There are some condos that aren't approved just because they haven't reapplied.
Right,
they expired. Those are the easiest ones to get single unit.
The best thing to do is get the condo questionnaire filled out up front and make sure there's no red flags up front. Pass the sniff test, if you will. And once you do that, then you can go down the route of getting it approved.
So a little more homework, like we talked about, being prepared.
Gotta be prepared
on this one.
Yeah, do a little bit more research now.
Turn to Mark.
Yeah, I just want to jump in with one. First of all, I came through the wall from Long Island this morning.
But you're a native New Yorker.
I lived here most of my life, worked here. We still have an office in Midtown Manhattan. So, this is not a strange place to me. The last 2 years, it seems like it.
Golden is the first time at Golden.
This is my first time in Golden. It's a beautiful building, amazing security. I love being
Amazing security.
They beefed up the security in yesterday's events, they told me. But a few points actually that just came up in my thoughts. And as I said, I'm Mark Lawrence, Worldwide Land Transfer Title Insurance. So I get to see kind of a little bit commercial, a little bit residential, a little bit from, a perch, I won't say above, but, around you guys. One of the things that is amazing about this New York and the surrounding areas, with respect to inflation, is the amount of capital and the amount of money that is in this area. I think a lot of us take it for granted that, everybody at this table can easily have the ability to make $500,000 without even trying that hard. In other places around the country, and as I said, we work, in different markets, that's not so. So here, because, cost of the real estate, commissions are high, title insurance premiums are high, rates on what you make on a mortgage, because of the loan amounts are high. And, I was coming down in an Uber and I was talking to the Uber driver, and this really this is where this comment comes from. So he said to me, number one, I'm lucky that I could drive for Uber. I had the opportunity to make, a lot of money in a day. He said I could easily make $400 or $500 a day driving Uber. So think about it. The Uber driver who drives 5 days can make $2,500 a week. He said a lot of people can only, around this country, make $500 a week. That's 5 times as much. And that really opened my eyes to, that even what you would think would be the lower wage or people here in this area have the ability to make a lot of money. And also on the mortgages, I mean, your luxury markets, you see all cash deals, $3-4 million. We see them. I wish I was the real estate agent rather than the title agent on those. Yeah, I've done that too. But so that's amazing as well. And they've been saying too, foreign buyers are going to start coming back into the market. Obviously some of the immigration issues have changed, and you're going to want to see a lot of capital flow from around the world back to this area. So there's really a lot of opportunities. Inflation, yes, but remember, people here are very well capitalized. We don't see 90% mortgages. And we touched on VA yesterday. I was talking to somebody who has been a successful real estate agent in San Francisco. She moved to Pensacola, Florida, where she told me it's a military town. A lot of VA loans. I know San Antonio is another place where I've done some business, another Navy town. So there are a lot of single family VA markets around the country too. I know it's a little more difficult in condos and stuff like that. So from a more national perspective, there's opportunities, and that's what I think keeps all of us here excited, that we can make a living and put people in homes and do the good things that we do.
Yeah, it's a great point. Again, obviously inflation creeps up more so on the fixed income level of people, right? If you're older and you get Social Security or pension, like odds are that's not going to be rising the same way gas prices are, home prices are, or even interest rates, right? I want to get into Bergen County, New Jersey. Bergen County is a hot area. They have everything there. Multi-million-dollar listings, Real Housewives of New Jersey, I believe. So get into a little bit about inventory, what you're seeing in markets, who's driving up prices, are people overpaying, and also get into list prices. I've been focused on everyone's saying price drops, price cuts. Well, the shit's overpriced by 50%.
Yeah.
So you're only bringing it back down to reality. So tell everyone about your strategy and what you look to do.
Well, Bergen County is still crazy. It's been crazy since the whole pandemic started. What we're dealing with right now is inventory. There's not enough inventory out there. We have a lot of buyers. As soon as something comes on the market, we have like highest and best the next day. Like that's how crazy it is. And so getting what he said about all my offers lately have been getting accepted because of this. There's about 20 offers on a home. My clients, some of them are going their best foot forward. Others, don't have that much money to put down cash wise. I've been getting my offers accepted because of that, because of the organizing of the attorney, the lender. Once you have that whole packet set and you show them, like the sellers want to take that because they know that you're ready to go the next day. When you're presenting a packet and you have things missing, they don't want anything to do with you. Like even the sellers that I deal with right now, they know the potential, they know the buyers that they have, they know there's like 20 offers on a home. So if you're coming in with a packet that doesn't have all of that, they're just going to go right to the next one. They're not, it's very greedy right now too. Everyone's being greedy. If like the sellers are being greedy, they know that everyone's coming in with all their cash down, and they know they could just go to the best next offer if the first one's not that great.
So being a listing agent, what is your personal, I want to hear from multiple people on this. How do you look at all your offers?
Yeah.
How do you advise which offer you recommend? And third, which is the most important one, how much does your relationship with the agent that makes the offer weigh in on whether or not they're likely to get the house or not?
That makes a huge difference. When you have, that's why I'm always networking. That's why I love networking with other realtors, because when you have that relationship, you know that it's going to go through. When you don't really know the other realtor on the other side, you kind of like, it's not that you question it, but if there's somebody else that you're going to kind of I'm not going to say that, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so as far as what was the last question? The last question you just asked. That's what I
knowing the agent that's presenting the offer.
no, before that.
Forget.
Anybody? How do you organize the offers?
Okay, yeah. So same thing, like as organized as possible. When everything is, that's what the sellers want. They want to see everything right up front between the lender, the attorney, just the whole packet up front. I think that makes a huge difference as far as like, the seller being confident that the deal's going to go through, because, sometimes you'll have a pre-approval and, I've dealt with this with you where the pre-approval doesn't mean not with you, but I brought it to you. It's just a piece of paper. Yeah, so a deal could just fall through just because you have a pre-approval. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a paper that says that, yeah, they're approved for this. But guess what? I've had deals fall through because, you know, that piece of paper, it meant nothing. It was just a piece of paper. So when you have that relationship with that lender, or maybe even have that lender call the seller calls that lender and says, you know, is this legit? It makes a huge difference because, you know, I had that situation where it was, you know, just a piece of paper and that piece of paper didn't do anything. And it was a big deal and it fell through because of that. So when you have that relationship with the lender and the lender's able to call the seller, it makes a huge difference.
Joe, how do you look at listings? And how do you handle when sellers have a deal that dies, you have to go back on market? How do you break that news to them and assure them that it's not going to happen again?
Well, you can never show them, right? You know, from the start, you got to kind of, from the start, you know,
That's not the thing,
Amen.
from the start, I prepped them. The only thing guaranteed life is death. So I had someone ask me just yesterday, is this going to close? Are you sure? I'm 95, 97, 98% certain, but you can't call me if the deal does die. But, you know, it's just about setting a client expectations, setting really the conditions of the deal, right? Sometimes I tell them highest is not always best. Sometimes it's the terms.
Well, we had a deal. You had the first deal we closed this year together was your deal that somebody told you can get a $1.8 million loan on it. In 5 minutes, we determined 1.4 million was the max and we closed it as a bridge loan, right?
Correct.
So like, how do people do a better job, or what can lenders and realtors do to work more together? What can a lender provide to give additional assurance? Like we went over the cash flow analysis. I sent you guys the numbers. Hey, look here, I don't make these numbers up. Here's what the numbers are that you told me. Here's what the loan amount that supports the numbers that you told me.
I think this comes honestly, just comes down to knowledge. You have to know your numbers in this business. That's never going to change. You're talking bridge loans like we did, you have to know your numbers and you set the expectations with the lender, with the realtor, with the attorney, and essentially with the client. And there's no surprise that comes your way. If the deal dies, we get back on the horse. There's no reason to cry about it. Because in this market, you have 7 backups. Yeah. Your deal dies, you're not the end of the world. We're back in another contract the next day.
Mr. Moore?
I would say too, constructing the loan the right way, you know, touching upon, you know, pre-approvals, you know, a lot of lenders now, you can do an underwritten approved loan where, you know, yeah, and it still didn't go through.
Well, it's still.
It's a complicated matter.
Complicated?
Very complicated.
Yeah, well, you know, that's really on the lender.
And the client, though,
and the
in all
client can
fairness,
be-
if the client doesn't comply or doesn't want to proactively submit documents that they have to legally provide.
Right, that is true.
Happens.
Yeah, so, but yeah, underwritten approval, you know, you get a lot of appraisal waivers too, if they're putting down a bigger down payment, 20%. I've been seeing a lot of those lately, even with the inflated prices. I just, you know, most of my buyers right now, we've been getting, you know, with the 20% down or more appraisal waivers. So, you know, you got a mortgage committed buyer, right? You don't have to do an appraisal. So it's really just upon completion of the loan and title, really does make it a safer choice too. I mean, obviously there's always exceptions to the rule, I guess, unfortunately, but I would say, you know, have the local lender also, you know, show you what their process is to do an underwritten approval. It's going to make your buyer look stronger. It's going to make it a faster process, especially if you got a seller that like needs to buy another house and they need to close on a certain time. You're getting at least 33% of the you know, the work done.
The craziest thing is we did a deal in Massachusetts recently. The client was buying the house for $700,000. It was listed at $640,000, so they paid $60,000 more, and we still got the appraisal waiver, right?
Yeah.
Because they had $250,000 in the bank. The guy actually was a veteran and still put the money down, right? So, you know, if you can get an appraisal waiver where you don't have to do an appraisal, your loan should close in 10 days, right?
Yeah.
And again, that's going to be more common as people put larger down payments down. You're seeing the banking systems try and say, okay, we understand appraisers and appraisals are an issue time-wise and reliability-wise, and most appraisals suck anyway, to be honest with you, right? It's like, well, how did you underappraise by 50 grand? Like, you know, here's a comp for 200,000 more.
Yeah.
So they understand that technology has to help take over, but the banks are only going to take risk on borrowers that have the ability to save, have good credit, and say, you know what, we really don't care what this appraises at, because these people are going to make their payment regardless. And that's what it factors into, right? So it's very important, as Greg said, and you go and touch on that, on like what a pre-commitment subject to finding a property approval actually looks like.
So what it looks like is it's pretty much the lender, verifying the employment, which that's a huge issue with pre-approvals. They say they make X amount of money, but maybe they didn't work 40 hours a week, so now their income gets lowered. You find that out when they're underwritten approved because you're doing the verification of employment. A lot more employers too are using automated verifications of employment too, like the bigger corporations. So you don't have to wait 2, 3, 4 days sometimes for an employee. You can find out right away. They have to submit their documents though. They have to, the borrower has to submit everything that they would need as if they already bought a house. You do it before. Now, when you take them out, right, their their employment's verified. Their assets are verified. So they can't put they have X amount of money and then they say, oh no, never mind, I spent half of it, right? Their credit's already run clearly. We're looking at their liabilities. We're making sure that the loan structure based on the house that they're buying with the tax rate fits into their commitment. So also, when you're asked, if you have an underwritten approved buyer and they stated on the pre-approval, ask for the commitment letter, because the commitment letter is the legal documented proof that says that they are underwritten approved. So
This is
now,
crazy.
Especially in New Jersey and New York, yeah, I know.
I'll get it tomorrow.
They still don't care about me
Kid
clearly.
found,
So,
and we found Greg Morgan.
and attorney reviews states too, where you gotta go over the contingencies. It's very good for the listing and the sellers to feel more comfortable with their buyer that's financing, because they have a mortgage commitment. One of those contingencies is really not there anymore. Now the appraisal is waived as well. You got a buyer that's really just based on title and completion of the loan, satisfaction, and you'll have less problems. There's always going to be exceptions. There's always going to be some, but you'll minimize that risk.
We're gonna take a shift to real quick. A lot of people in a lot of areas own real estate that's now become more valuable, right? Hey, I bought this 1-family home. I can put an extension on it. I can convert it to a 2-family. Hey, I have this 4-unit building. I can make it an 8-unit building. In both New York and New Jersey, you have that because of zoning laws and they have so much found equity, right? So we're gonna go around and talk to definitely Jermaine and Anthony on this. Everyone else wants to jump in. What do you do with the person that calls up, no experience in real estate? They bought the property 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's a 4-family, and now they want to make it a 6-family and add floors. Jermaine, do you want to touch on
I
that?
actually just did this with Jeff, this exercise. The first thing I would do is put together a valuation for them. I think the most important thing to do, especially when you're talking with either a mom and pop or an unsophisticated owner, is let them understand their actual asset that they have. So a lot of times, especially in New York and in Brooklyn, it's all going to be dictated on the zoning laws. Like the example that I have with Jeff, it was a vacant lot owned generationally, and they had an upzoning in Bushwick. So it went from I think an R4 to an R6. So you can build about 10,000 square feet or a 12 to 15 unit building there on a vacant lot. So we run the exercise where we look at it as a rental exit, a condo exit, and if you were to keep it as is. And then we literally back into hard costs, soft costs, and really give them as it would a developer would look at if you were to develop the property. And then we back into what it's worth, price per buildable square foot that they can sell into the market as. And this helps them not only get more confident in a potential sale, but a lot of times it helps educate the family as well, because they're not real estate experts like us doing this every day. So it goes a long way with just giving them information, educating them. And a lot of times they're not ready to sell yet. They're just being exploratory because they don't really know which way to go. But in my experience, you do these valuations, they come back in a year or two after they explore the market, and usually you're in the conversation to help them sell it.
Could jump in with the question?
Jeff, absolutely.
So how does that? So just curious, because in Hoboken, we have a lot of that. We have a lot of people that have owned a home in generation 50, 60, 70 years. It might be have been a 1-family, now it's a 2-family, then they cut it to a 4. And like, we get calls all the time, like, what do I do with this property? And we know how to sell it. We know what its value, but like, we don't always know the options. So how do you actually engage with a realtor or with a property owner of that 4 or 5-family or that piece of property? Like, what does that look like when you're having that?
So the question is what they can do with it, or like, how do I engage?
How do you engage with them? Like, how do you come into that equation? Like, is that
how do I find them
consulting fee or no? Like,
no, we actually do it all for free. And I do over 100 valuations for free every year.
When you say valuations, is that sort of like our comps?
Yes.
Yes.
You run comps on a
Yeah,
high
similar
level.
to market comps,
Okay.
but we look at, since it's an investment property, we look at cash flow analysis, NOIs, cap rates, GRMs. Like we really look into it as if you were an institutional investor and you were gonna go buy this piece of property. We back into what their return or what the rate of return is gonna be on it. And we share all that with the actual property owner, so they can see, like, we're not just putting a $5 million tag on this building or $20 million tag. This is what it's worth to an investor, and this is why. And then it helps us be extremely smart when we get into the market, because we can justify our pricing to the investors as well.
Right.
I also think it's very important, again, on multifamilies in particular, condos, that not so much, 2, 3,
Right.
4, multi-5 family mixed use. Again, getting with someone like Jermaine, right?
Yeah.
Makes it that much more powerful because it's a true investment business decision and sale, right?
Sure.
So you guys might say, hey, this mixed use on 10th Street is sold for $2 million. Well, the tenant might be paying $2,500 a month rent opposed to $7,000. Or, hey, this mixed use can actually go up 2 stories. And if you condo the building out, you'll make 3 times your money, whatever the number is, right? So running those investment analysis are invaluable because numbers don't lie, right? So like my client said, hey, we think it's worth X. And I'm breaking his chops, obviously, I like to break chops. I'm like, dude, it was 2.3 million. He's like, it's not worth 2.3 million. I'm like,
Right.
give me 2.3 million. You know, I need to show, hey, look, we're working for the client as well. And obviously, I push him, as do everybody, to get creative, right?
Yeah.
Hey, they think it's 2.3 million. They don't have to sell. So if you tell them it's a shocking number lower, we need to not only justify why, we also have to break the news to them in black and white. This isn't something that's subjective here. Here's the exact same asset that you're trying to sell that just sold for X.
Which is why I asked that
Why is
question.
yours
too. I
special?
think a lot of times realtors in the residential world, they'll just come in and go, like, oh, it looks like that. You can sell for that. But like, we can back into those numbers, but it's not what we do every day.
But what
too,
happens
right?
on the residential side, I see, there's emotion involved. Like,
Right.
when my wife and I bought our condo in Hoboken, she fell in love with Robert's Court before we even got there.
You're right.
Yeah.
So we were paying whatever number it was for it.
Yep.
Didn't matter.
It's your
But
primary residence.
it's-
where you
yeah,
spend your
exactly.
time.
So
But we have
willing
a
to pay.
client in mind that we need to connect with because they're moving to the West Coast and they have an elderly father who owns a building in town.
Mhm.
And they want to talk to us about what should we do with this because we're moving him with us.
Yeah.
And we need to talk to you because we can only run comps so much.
Yeah, and we'll dig
Ladies and
into
gentlemen,
that.
that's why we do these things in person.
Yes,
this is
amazing.
Across the river, you know,
We need you.
Listen, I'm gonna make,
Thank God the pandemic.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. Yeah. I said, he's looking to sell his place in Hoboken. So the only way they're making this deal is if you have a listen.
I actually, my wife's pregnant. We have
Congratulations.
on Monday.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So,
Little Jermaine?
little Jermaine.
Aw.
Second little girl.
Nice.
But yeah, like everyone else, we're just outgrowing our space in Hoboken. So
Bursting at the seams.
yeah, burst at the scene, but it's obviously tough to go into the markets we want because there's no inventory.
Yep.
Yep, we have
All
two
over.
little boys in a condo.
Sure.
Yeah, as we all know that, yeah, right.
Can't afford
Jermaine
it.
spends most of his time down there, so he's only up here today for this meeting. Every time I talk to him, he's on the beach or doing something with his wife.
Out on by the city.
Aww.
Nice.
It's been a lot of time down there as well.
Cool.
But yeah, back to your question, how we get in front of most of these owners is we've been in this middle market for so long that a lot of it's referral based and a lot of it's, there's a handful of owners that are transactional and people syndicate deals and they know that we're a great resource for this type of information and it's free. So all we ask is that if you do decide to sell it, like out of 100 OVs, 20 become deals. So about 20-25%. So if you get 20 deals a year.
Yeah.
Like OV for those.
Valuation, opinion value.
Awesome.
So it's a good strategy, and I've literally gone into people's offices that are old business, Massey Knuckle. We leave with a leather bounded book that go back 10, 15 years. I walk into the office, oh, I have one of your old books.
Wow.
It'll be 15 years old sitting on the shelf.
That's cool.
So it's a good kind of shelf buy.
Yeah.
That's our approach to it. There's many ways to do it, but we found that
So I
successful.
want to touch on briefly, I think it's very important, and look, no one in this room has, pride or ego, obviously, because you guys are all in real estate, and that doesn't exist in real estate, right, pride and ego. I want every single person to tell how important it is to deal with an expert and not take an asset or a deal outside of your level of sophistication or professionalism. So I'm gonna start with Anthony. So Anthony, obviously, you're an owner of New York City, Keller Williams, and you operate a lot on Long Island, right? Like, explain to everyone why you're not gonna take a listing in Bergen County, New Jersey, and how you would handle that and find the right person to handle that.
Well, first off, I couldn't take a listing in Bergen County, but if I was gonna get a listing in Manhattan, I would give it to you because you know Manhattan like the back of your hand. I grew up in Long Island. I know everything about Long Island, so that's my specialty. I wouldn't be taking something and trying to sell something in Rochester upstate or somewhere along those lines because I just don't know the area. So it's very important to obviously be with an expert and trust who you're hiring. That's probably the main thing. If you're a seller, like you have to trust who you're hiring and actually let them do their job. If you're going to hire them and micromanage, it's just not going to work out at all.
Other KW?
Yeah, so, well, thank you for the future listing. But yeah, so I guess a referral fee is better than no deal. So just from a, standpoint of, financials, it's better to give it to someone who's going to get the deal done. And then also just the fiduciary duty. You're not, you're doing a disservice, biting off more than you can chew and not being in your market center where you're really an expert. It's not fair to the seller, it's not fair to you to put yourself in that situation. So maximize your time, stick to what you know, stick to where you know, and then let the expert take it away.
Anthony, Jeff, you want to just check your computer over? Anthony, so like, for example, you get a listing in Red Bank, right? And then you have somebody that calls you up that wants to list a property in Atlantic City, which is obviously a little bit further from you. How do you handle that? And how do you find the right person? How do you find that other real estate professional to potentially give that listing to or co-broke with?
Yeah, to me, it varies a lot, like which type of property. Like you can have investment properties, and what the goal is for the client. So like we have offices, a couple offices in central New Jersey. So we have our markets are covered. And like to piggyback on what was just said, you have a fiduciary responsibility to your clients, right? So if you can't provide them the best service, you got to cut it off, right? Because now you're doing a disservice to your clients. And there's a lot of that going on because it's competitive. But yeah, so if we have someone from Red Bank in Atlantic City, depending on the type of property they have, like with years in the business, you know who really does what work after time. But if you don't know a market, you're going to have to work, which is very easy for people now. And a lot of people don't want to put in the work, but you have to do the research on agents if you want to find them. What's their track? Go on the MLS, go on Zillow, find their track records. How much? Like you can have an agent. Yeah, I sell homes in Atlantic City. Well, maybe they sold 2 in the past year, but you have another guy who specializes in a part of Atlantic City where that house is, because there's a lot of different areas. But they'll sell 25 homes a year, right? So you got to do your due diligence. You have to work to get paid, and they get paid the right way. And that's really what it is. Like I have clients from here going to the Carolinas and other parts of Florida, and I know realtors down there, but I do the research to put them in the right hands because, again, it's a responsibility, and you want to make sure those people are selling in those price points, selling homes in those neighborhoods. And yeah, it's a little bit of time, but that's really what our job is supposed to do.
Yeah, right. The bonds.
The bonds.
You want to take it?
No. It's your show.
So yeah, I mean, fiduciary 100%, make sure clients handled properly, right? That's most important. But here's the other flip side of it. I don't think it's a good business model. Like, I don't think I'm going to make more money by chasing clients around to every market that I don't know. So like, if I could focus on my niche, market there, be the expert there, be the if you don't call them, you're not making a smart decision. Realtor in Hoboken, I'm wasting my time going to Westfield, going to Bergen County, going to different places because I'm going to waste time that I could be spending way more effectively on my primary business. We believe in that so much that we just got done with a webinar last week that was called Hoboken to the Burbs. And it was literally, if you want to leave Hoboken, let us be your source to connect you to the right person in the burbs. Like, I don't know it, but so we do things like that. And also we realized we have so many feeder towns that people keep going to over and over and over. I said, let me go find someone who knows that market, bring them onto our team, plug them into our resources, our process, our transaction department, all that. Now I can service that business, but doing it as a local on the ground there. So I think there's a business model aspect, obviously a fiduciary and do the right thing for the client aspect first and foremost. But I think it's both. It's like the people who run around, I don't see them that successful. Honestly, I don't see them moving up their lifestyle, moving up their business model. Like it seems like they're kind of in that world forever.
It's gotta be hard driving. I mean, the Garden State's large too. I barely go to Jersey City just because we're so vertical. There's so many high rises and there's enough business right in town. I'm gonna give my team the all of the other up the Gold Coast, up River Road.
Let's tell the truth here. She won't leave the block. Like, she won't leave the block, but she's got 40% market share on that block. So like, I mean, why leave the block?
He'll be like, oh, where's your appointment tonight? On the 10th floor.
I would love to have that job.
Why am I gonna go anywhere else?
But if she
I
crosses the
specialize.
street, it's a big day, like a big day.
Today I have a listing appointment across the street, okay? So I'm commuting.
Are you prepared for that commute or no?
Yeah. I've done my homework and what's going on.
We're gonna jump over.
Actually, I
Corner.
haven't thought on that, but.
Yeah, Mark, yeah.
Having been an agent actually, for over title
In the
here
city,
in,
right?
in Manhattan from 2001 to 2006. I still think, that real estate, and this applies to Manhattan too, is a hyper local business, at least as if you're a realtor. There are too many generalists. My aunt, who is one of the longest Corcoran brokers, actually, and that was kind of how I got into the business. She was a downtown broker. She never went above 34th Street. She knew the Village in Soho, and that's it. And she made, really good money knowing those two neighborhoods. Of course, when they were 100,000 that are now apartments that are now 10 million, that helps too. But, same thing. I like to make the analogy with the medical field. If you have a rash, you don't go to your internist. Or if you go to the internist, they send you to the dermatologist. So, again,
Good.
don't, there's generalists and everybody should know something about real estate as a lender, as title. We're more general, obviously, than the realtor on the ground, but knowing the restaurants and the dry cleaners and knowing your neighborhood, there's the schools, very important. It's the stuff that why people are coming to you as an agent. So hyper local knowledge still definitely super important.
I wish I had it at least as easy as you.
It's not easy.
Well, not easy, but I'm driving, because Bergen County is so large, I'm driving it, from one side to the other, it could be like 45 minutes, so I'm literally driving all over the place. But as far as we have Christie's offices like all over New Jersey, so if there was another, say, I'm gonna throw something out there, Jersey City, I know Jersey City, I go out to eat and stuff there, but I don't really know the market there, so.
For the parking.
I was there last night and it was like, I could not find parking. I was like, where's valet? But so I would we have Christos in Hoboken, Summit, we're literally, and it's all the same owner. So we're able to just call that office and say hey, do you, and I would give the referral. Like you said, I'd rather take a referral fee instead of trying to make stuff up and act like I know the market when I could just hand it over to somebody that does and just take the referral fee. So that's pretty much what I do.
Joe?
You gotta remember, in regards to residential real estate, it's the most likely the largest asset. You gotta lay your head at night, right? I can't take your listing in Long Island if I'm from Staten Island, even if you want me to. It's not fair to you. I'm gonna do you the service. I'm gonna leave money on the table for you. I don't know where the dry cleaner is out there. I don't know where the deli is out there. And you're taking this asset that they own, the only asset, most of the time, they only own one home. They bought it 30 years ago. It's all they have. It's a nest egg. It's not fair to me to just to do you the service. I can't operate like that. I gotta lay my head at night and know that I did the best I can for you.
So Jermaine, I want you to explain the B6 strategy. I think it's very crucial and important because obviously your company was built on certain market segmentation, right?
So your company was built on, you have your territory, you don't go outside your territory, you work as a team, you own that area. Explain the B6 mindset and how that business works.
I think it really started, it started with Massey Knuckle. They were the first middle market brokers to really deploy this type of territory model. But with B6, literally stand for building by building, block by block. Our whole blueprint is.
Wait, you didn't come up with that?
Yeah. Our whole blueprint is to know a given area. Like my territory is Flatbush, Midwood, Brooklyn. I have geographical lines, and my job is to be the smartest person in the room about that every asset class in that neighborhood. But the beauty of our system, why it works so well, is that we have 30 experts throughout all the 5 boroughs and Hudson County as well. So when you come to me with something in Hoboken, I'm going to bring you Yanni in my office, who does the same thing I do in Brooklyn, but it does it in Hoboken and Jersey City. So it not only helps us be experts and help our clients, but when we do have clients come to us through referrals or just organically, we're able to make sure that we're always putting the best team in the field for them. Because they'll have my relationship in it, but they'll also have the territory expert. Like when Jeff's bought me deals in the past, they'll be in Northern Brooklyn, and I'll bring in, or the Bronx, I'll bring in that territory expert. So Jeff's met a couple people on my team, and it works very well because you actually wind up giving them 2 teams to work on 1 assignment. And then we have all the profit sharing and how commissioners split in house already set up. So there's no discrepancy with who's getting what, and we work as one cohesive team.
And the client appreciates that.
Yeah, the client sees it right away, especially when, and I won't name any other firm, but there's other commercial firms out there where a client will literally have 2 teams in Manhattan or Brooklyn calling them for a listing. And the client sees that same company competing against business. Why? That doesn't make any sense. So when they get the listing, they're not going to take it out and help each other. When I get a listing, my entire firm is advised to work on it.
So I know we're at 11:16. A lot of people have to run. I want everyone to go around the room and say one thing that you believe you could do to personally help make the real estate experience better for everyone, whether it's lender, the realtor, the client, the seller, the buyer, whoever. I want everyone to give one thing that you guys believe should be implemented to help make the real estate experience that much more friendly. And we could start with Mark down that way.
I've been holding it. I think of Jeff, I always think of football because it's so much a part of, his life and it shapes a lot of what he does. So I think of 2 football quotes. And one was when you said with buyers, how do you get buyers, to be successful? That's 2 things. One is the best defense is a good offense. So go at it aggressive, which, to your guys' point, when you mentioned Nate, come in with your best offer, your professionals there. And then, I'll cite to Herm Edwards, former Jets coach, say, you play to win the game. That was his quote. And that's what I think really, is, our competitive advantage and our mindset. We have to play to win.
Right.
I love it. I think the biggest thing for me is I really truly have a deep passion for my profession, and I want to do it at a really high level. And I always think as the consumer, and I want to do the absolute best for them. So I don't care about, I know he's not going to like this, but I don't care about my paycheck at all. I really, truly, honest to God, I want that seller to be super, super, super happy with the outcome. I want it to be super professional and at a very high level. So that's all I got.
So that was a great segue because I don't want her to care about her paycheck. I don't want anybody on our team to care about their paycheck.
It's because you control the money, deposit the check.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know
right.
what's happening,
Because
what's
see the
happening.
paycheck. Because it's my job to worry about the paycheck. And like all joking aside, like I don't take clients anymore. I haven't worked with clients in 18 months. She works with all of repeat referral business, and we have 10 awesome agents on the team. And my job is to train, provide the right systems, the right resources, the right ability to serve their clients properly. So all they have to worry about every day, waking up, serving their clients, knowing if they keep doing the things they know they need to do, sharpening their saw, they're going to make the money they want to make. They don't need to worry about the dollars and the cents. And if we have that on our team, we move that off our team. It's not what we are designed to do. It's not our culture. So my goal and like what I think we could do as an industry is how do we consolidate and professionalize this industry? And I think it's coming naturally anyway. I think with the commission compression we're seeing with referral sources like a Zillow Flex, which I know Jeff loves Zillow, it's like his favorite thing in the world. But like seriously, like some big real estate minds out there in the resi space say that 50% of all transactions in the next 3 years are going to have a referral fee to one of these companies on them. So compression's coming. I think we need to get professionalized. We need to be very organized and serving the clients right. And not just these onesies and twosies agents out there that are providing really bad service and really bad experiences for people. How do we create an environment where agents can provide amazing experiences for their clients, therefore creating awesome lifestyles for themselves? And that's what we're doing.
Anthony?
Jeff, you're spot on with what you were saying with, oh, let me fix this. There you go. And not much left. But so to implement, so there's 2 sides to it, right? So for me, and depending on your position, you have a client side, right? It's creating a client experience and it's all about your environment. So to make it better, your professionals that you have around you, over time, you develop relationships and it becomes your team. So like I have my A team. We work, we think alike, we act alike, we spend time together outside of work. And it's an environment that we created with the professionals I have, the lawyers, the lenders, the title companies, that we, to the point where we almost know what each other's thinking, right? Before when something's going on. So we're creating an environment to make people feel comfortable. And it's always educating yourself. Like most offers that I submit, I'm doing a conference call with my lender with the client because it's not a one size fit all, but I want everyone to be on the same page and to let them know that we're going to craft the best offer for you in this insane market that we're having. And you'll be surprised, like the comfort people have when they know that you're working. So it's all about the client experience, and it's not just writing the offer, it's guiding them through the process. So for the client side, they depend on us to be educated and working with the best, because this is not a deal. We're helping somebody in a change in their life to either upsize, downsize, or they have a life change. So that's really what our job is, to provide that. On the agent side, on the ownership side, is like Jeff was saying, providing the services so your agents can be better, the education, the training, what works, because it's pretty easy to become a realtor in New Jersey, $350 and you're like almost good to go, which is honestly disgusting considering the responsibility that we have and our job. So like how we look at our agents in Next Home is, what could we do to always provide the best service to our agents so they can go ahead and provide the best service out there, and it's to the home buyers and sellers. And a lot of it is education, training, making sure that they're involved, and how do we help keep more money in their pocket by services that we can consolidate and provide to them. So those are like two sides that I think really needs to change in the industry. And like you said, it is gradually happening, I think, because everyone at the level right now sees the need to change, and it's just morphing into what it should be. And it's exciting at the same time, because the industry's, it's a rough ride out there, but it's exciting to see that you have even collaborations with people between different companies, just like great minds are starting to come up with a better system. So
Thank you, Anthony. Christina, you're up.
So kind of echoing on the experience, and also, just not taking lightly the responsibility that you have representing buyers and sellers. I just think communication is so important. And, we can kind of take for granted the steps of the process, having done it so many times. But the first time buyer really needs their hand held. They really need to be communicated every step of the way of, what they're dealing with. So I just think communicating in a timely fashion, being accessible, being empathetic, just making the person feel extremely comfortable and knowing that you have their best interests at hand, at the forefront at all times. I think it's really important. Just because residential real estate is a pretty emotional experience, especially when it comes to primary residence or putting all of your life savings, towards a property. You don't take it lightly, and just make sure that they know that.
AZ.
100%. She hit it on the head. Trust, honesty, and communication. I think that's the absolute. That's what you have to do in this market, but in this job. Good.
Yep.
If you're able to communicate efficiently, there's really not going to be any surprises with whether it's your seller or your buyer. So it's just really having the communication with your lender, having the communication with your attorney, and then having the communication with yourself, obviously, and just keeping them in the loop throughout the process. And there's so many ways to do it nowadays, whether it's, it might sound funny, but whether it's social media, whether it's email, whether it's a text message, you don't need to do the hour phone calls anymore. They just want to be validated.
Listen, I know what kind of clients you have, but my average phone call is like 54 minutes these days.
Yeah,
Anybody else? Yeah.
I try to stay off the phone as much as possible. That's hard. And it might be a simple question that they just want an answer because
they want to hear your voice.
They just want to know that everything's still going forward. And it's a very easy thing to just shoot them a text message or just, email them if you're on vacation. Like, I know that sounds silly, but I think that's why I do so many deals, is because I just stay on top of everything and I just communicate left and right.
It's invaluable. You can't eliminate communication.
You can't at all.
Awesome. I'm going to skip over myself. I'm going to close at the end. That was great. You've done that before. I'm going to go to Greg, and then we'll go around the room, and I'm going to close up.
I personally think it's educate to dominate. I think that, we got to understand our clientele that's going to be around for the next, better part of the decade. We're moving into millennials are going to be most of the market on the buyer side for, the next decade at least. And the environment that millennials are from, me being one, is, they went through 2 wars, 9/11, right? Student loan debt, crippling student loan debt, a mortgage crisis that affected not just the mortgage industry, but the way that people got paid with their jobs, having more debt than salaries. Millennials aren't mostly the people that want bargains. They want to be taken care of. And, they want to see that we're not salesmen, that we're advisors for them. And we got to remember that if our job wasn't intricate, we wouldn't be here today. So they look at us as professionals. So I think they got to remember, they don't understand the terms that we use. I mean, I even sometimes use acronyms and I don't even forget what they mean sometimes, right? I mean, it's a very complicated industry that we're in, and we're in complicated times still. So I think educating the buyers, coming from a lender, so mostly buyers, obviously for me, on the why behind everything. Why, not just you need to do X, but why you need to do X, and why if you don't do X, Y might happen, right? I think that's going to set the expectation. I think that's going to go back on what you guys were saying, having a more prepared buyer, like a portfolio, think of it. They're going to look for the right homes. They're going to look for the right budgets. Maybe they're not ready to buy right now and they need to be told that. And maybe it's in their best interest. I am a true believer in the best things that happen are things that happen naturally. And when you force someone to maybe go a little bit behind their budget or do something that's not comfortable for them, it either doesn't work out or it happens with a very, very sour taste in their mouth. So I think education. Our industry needs to change to be advisory, not sales.
Yeah.
Very good.
Mr.
Pugh?
On the commercial investment side, I mean, especially with all the uncertainty that's happened throughout COVID, I think being transparent with data is really key. So investors can make sound decisions on why they're buying the assets they are. There was so many issues with cash flow, vacancies. It's really about getting back to the fundamentals, being able to underwrite a property and getting your investors on board to buy that property. And until we can bring that all together and really demand confidence in what we're doing, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough sailings. But like I said earlier in the conversation, everything's trending in the right direction. So I think the best thing I can do for the industry and for my clients is to make sure they're informed, they're getting accurate data. I mean, Bob Knapple says it best, and Paul Massey, we're an information business. Give the client information and make sure that they know you'll be with them throughout every step of the listing process and getting the best number out in the market.
Sure. Take this one.
So I'm relatively new to this, as everybody probably knows, but at the very least, when I started to go through the process of buying a home, I did have somebody that did help me. Honestly, as a real estate agent, he was not great. But in addition to that, I didn't
see this.
I hope he does. But I also didn't like the other end where the lender itself did not really give me a lot of information, did not really talk to me. They kind of just took my information, pushed me off, and then said, hey, see you when it closes, essentially pushed me off to a loan assistant. And I didn't really have a lot of information or communication. On my end, coming from the restaurant industry and customer service, it's a big deal to me that, as well as the real estate agents having communication and being accessible and everything, I want to be the same way. It should feel like there's a team that, as you said, that's there for you when you're purchasing or making this big purchase or your first purchase, or it's a big deal. It's a big investment. So in order for you to feel comfortable, to have a team there that always speaks to you, that's always there for you, I think that's also something that needs to change, because from my experience, it was not at all like that both times that I got mortgage done. So seriously, Jeff, you're done.
Really.
You gotta come hang out this side.
Oh my God.
On the realtor end, it's all kind of integrated. So there's an incredibly low bar of entry that I think they actually need to raise somewhat. Realtors have to get past the idea of I'm a tour guide. I just don't open doors. You have to educate yourself on building codes.
So there are realtors that say, hey, I open doors.
And they're gone, and they'll be gone when the MLS are due in the next 6 months. They're gone. You got to educate yourself on building codes. On the finance side, you have to be the expert to the client, and that's what's I see is really lacking out there. They're not problem solvers. We ultimately, realtors are problem solvers. I don't consider myself a guy who drives around and opens the door and says, "There's the kitchen." He knows it's the kitchen. It's the oldest thing in the world. Everyone knows it's the kitchen. But when that deck is illegal, I'm going to solve the problem with the building department for you. Or when there's a financing problem, we're going to solve that financing problem. Or whatever it is, they need to know that Joe's got it under control. Go for a walk, smoke a cigarette. When you come back, I'm going to have the answer. And that's what's lacking in this business, I believe, due to the low bar of entry.
True critical thinking.
Imran? So same thing, education, staying educated, being an expertise in your market. Like, anybody could get the real estate license. Anybody could just, try to sell a house, but knowing your market is like a total different ballgame. So yeah, every day I'm like right on MLS, studying what's what's been sold. Like, you just have to know your market. And I feel like a lot of realtors are really lacking in that. So, yeah.
Very cool. So I'll close it up. So it's actually a super special day. I didn't plan this. It kind of worked out that way. It's kind of how timing works. So we are now relive with Reverify. So everything you guys said today, it's my goal. And backtrack. When I was 20 years old, I was walking home from what would have been one of my last football practices at Fordham. And I walked past the house for sale, and some of you know this story, some of you don't. And I'm like, all right, I can make a left right here and go back to play college football, right? And stick this out, or I can go right into the mortgage business. And I remember having this thought literally at 20 years old, like I asked myself, like, why would I torture myself and go into the mortgage business? And it was to change the way business is done, right? And again, I got into the mortgage business. I was around the mortgage business for a long time, and I watched guys make $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year over year, early 2000s. And I'm like, if they could do it, I could do this. I didn't know anything, but I'm like, they're robbing people, they're doing things the wrong way, they're taking advantage of people. And I spent 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. almost every night during the summer at the office being these guys' assistants, or for lack of a better term, bitch, right? And when they just rushed people out the door and lied to them, told them what they wanted to hear, I was the one that had to deal with that collateral damage and get them to loop them back in, help retrust, help lock the rate a little bit better, play the market. So with that, I bring Reverify to life. And it's funny because the same day I came up with the Reverify concept was the same day COVID was announced. And it was the same day I had lost a $40,000 commission on a deal in the market with the lender I send a lot of business to, right? So you want to talk about like yin yang, right? I just lost $40,000 and I just committed to hundreds of thousands of dollars of investment in a technology company. So briefly explaining it, what is Reverify? You hear the terminology prop technology. Well, we came up with our own concept that stands alone. There's nothing like it. It's a social prop tech company where we provide social interactions, meetups, Zooms. We want to bring people together to socialize, to network, to shake hands, and build technology in to be an asset, not the main functionality. We've recently implemented tokenization and tokenomics, which is a crypto technology terminology, into Reverify. So if everybody can, you could go to reverify.com. You could easily sign up. When you sign up, you'll be rewarded with points. Those points will then convert into Cardano or ADA cryptocurrency. So we're actually rewarding and paying every single person that signs up for Reverify. It's part of our ecosystem. We believe it is the future, not only for the world to be digital, but especially for real estate. The more business you do, the more you're rewarded. You upload listings. It even has its own transaction management system where you could assign roles and build out your fantasy team. So when you submit an offer for a client, you upload the pre-approval, put the buyer's attorney information, put every piece of information, every player involved in the transaction, from title to home insurance, home inspector, appraiser, and everybody. System's live. I would appreciate if anybody has a listing now. It's a clean slate. There's only 2 listings. My partner, Mike Gabetti, as some of you may know, left his full-time job earning 6 figures at PSE&G to go all in on this with me. So to say we're all in and we put our money where our mouth is, that's what we've done over the past 2 years. And today is a super, super exciting day, not only to be back in the room with people that I admire and care about, but to have you guys as part of building the future of what real estate is. So I appreciate you guys all coming today. Again, just so everyone's understanding, the crypto technology implementation is being built. Your points that you get for your user activity inside of Reverify will convert to crypto at some point. We'll actually have a dollar valuation. So the more business you do, again, the more you use it, the more you'll be rewarded, the more you can convert it to your wallet, move it over to Coinbase. But we believe that people need an incentive to do things the right way, unfortunately, today. And there's no hiding in Reverify. People that do business are going to be rewarded. There's no pay to play. There's no ads. The more business you do, the more exposure you get. So appreciate again everybody for coming today. I hope everyone saw some value and knowledge in this. This is the first Reverify roundtable, and we aim to do this at least twice a month inside of different markets. You guys can even host your own events and market them and publicize them inside of Reverify as well. We want to promote community of people that do business the right way. So thank you guys all again.
This one I mentioned, Jeff, as you were talking about Cardano, I just got an alert on Coinbase. Cardano is up 4.95%.
Everyone just bought it. That's why. Guys, this is not,
Know about this call?
listen, this is
Is that
not,
what the
this is
alerts
not
were?
insider trading. I am very heavily invested in Cardano, as you can imagine, because I'm actually gonna be the one that has to pay you guys when you guys convert. So I've been accumulating rapidly. Jermaine's gonna cut me a check for like 50 grand so we could restock the account when we get out of here.
Hold on, Martha Stewart call.
But again, thank you guys all. Appreciate it. Hope you guys all saw value in this.
Thank you.
Congratulations.